Did you know that in the pre-alpha version of Modern Warfare, kill streaks were actually on the map and you can just go and activate them? It's wild to think how this early prototype evolved with key changes shaping not only the game, but setting the standard for mechanics that turned Call of Duty into the massive juggernaut of the gaming industry. Today, we dive into the pre-alpha version of Modern Warfare, exploring tons of cut multiplayer maps, early versions of iconic multiplayer maps, early looks at campaign missions, and cut campaign missions. Join me as I take you through all of this incredible excavation of a game that shaped the future of gaming for the next 2 decades and beyond. Let's start our journey with the pre-alpha version of Modern Warfare. This version was compiled in late March of 2007, which is roughly 8 months before the final release of the game on November 5th. Going through the campaign menu, we can see the majority of the missions that appear in the final game with their work in progress names. This menu is pretty similar to what we see in the released version of Modern Warfare, but Infinity Ward was working on a different type of menu for this game. Hidden away in the dev section of the campaign menu is another menu called Menu Test. When launched, we are brought to what is presumably what Infinity Ward wanted the actual menu to look like. This dev menu had a 3D rendered background instead of the static image we got in the final version. One interesting tidbit is that the placeholder background music for this menu is actually the soundtrack from Batman Begins, which I thought was kind of funny. We also see the soundtrack being used as a placeholder for some of the campaign missions too. While the soundtrack is a funny development placeholder, it was far from the only instance of super early work in progress in this game, starting with our first cut campaign mission called Chechnya Escape. This mission was in very early development and had a ton of placeholder objects and lots of repeated texture work. There's lots of placeholders scattered around the map, like these cubes with numbers on them, and even a really red bridge and a red river. There's a lot of red in this map for some reason. I do want to add a quick note in regards to NPCs in this map. No matter what difficulty I was playing on, it seems like they would just constantly just flick me up. So I had to duck a lot in this map. Again, this is a very work in progress campaign mission with tons of missing scripting and a lot of placeholder objects. In fact, I did get lost a couple times trying to figure out where to go. It seems like this main structure and like parking lot-y area is just repeated multiple times. And again, once I enter this building, you'll be able to see another NPC. So yeah, very early development. This map was originally supposed to follow another cut mission called Wetwork. And just like Chechnya Escape, this map is an even earlier work in progress. In fact, I couldn't even figure out how to progress through it. But there are some cool soldiers on a helicopter frozen in space and time though. There was a cut mission where we would actually take control of a helicopter and take down other aircrafts. It goes to show how much Infinity Ward loved this idea, because we would see tons of campaign missions in future games where we do this exact same thing. Moving on from the cut missions, here's a look at some fan favorite missions that were still in early development. A lot of these missions have most of the models and textures completed, but some are missing all of their scripting. Just as a reminder, this is 8 months before the game is supposed to be released. Starting of course with All Ghillied Up. This version of All Ghillied Up has most of the terrain pieces and textures completed, but there's no scripting at all. I couldn't find any enemies around. One thing to note is that the map bounds are also incomplete here, so you can just fall through the floor. And one thing that's a bit annoying is that if you die, you start all the way at the beginning of the missions and there's no checkpoints in this build. But regardless, seeing All Ghillied Up in such an early state was like unearthing a rough sketch of a masterpiece. This was such a good mission. Another really cool work in progress mission is actually the Jeep chase from the final mission of the game. This version doesn't have any scripting either, so it's basically a roller coaster ride through the early development of the mission. Crew Expendable is the iconic opening to Modern Warfare where you rappel down this helicopter with Captain Price and take over this Russian boat. One fun fact is that the voice lines during this stage of development were not yet fully complete, so we have an American voice actor for Captain Price, and this mission seems to be incomplete with just the beginning encounter being playable, because then you enter the end of currently scripted level text here. And of course, we can't forget one of the most iconic bonus missions in gaming history. You may know this mission as Mile High Club, but in this pre-alpha, it was simply called Airplane. And as you can see, there aren't any enemies here, it's just the layout of the airplane that you quote-unquote fight through. Moving on to the multiplayer side, the UI looks pretty much the same as the final version of Modern Warfare, but one really cool addition though is what I assume to be a work in progress menu soundtrack. It sounds incredible, but I couldn't find anything about where this soundtrack came from or what happened to it. I'll play a super short snippet of it so you can hear. If you guys know where this is from, please let me know down in the comments. I'll let it play out while I show you guys two cut maps. The first one is Dawn, and the second one is Hill. Dawn is a remake of a map from Call of Duty 2 called Dawnville. I'm not entirely sure why it was cut, considering the map was practically complete, but it didn't play well. Enjoy. How sick was that? Now, looking at Hill, this map was actually based off the campaign mission Heat. This map is pretty big and it looks similar to the campaign mission. I'm assuming Infinity Ward originally wanted to cut this down a bit, but in this build it looks like they just imported the map from the campaign. I'm not sure how this would have played considering the map is just massive. It has a ton of houses scattered around with pretty complete geometry, although like I said, it seems like it was just ripped from the campaign since the layout doesn't seem to be that fun for multiplayer. In this build, there is also nighttime versions of maps that did end up shipping in the final release. This night map concept wouldn't go wasted though, considering in Modern Warfare 2019, they added a whole game mode where the maps take place at nighttime and players would have to use their night vision goggles around the map.
UAV recon online.
Moving on from the pre-alpha phase, we enter the multiplayer beta of Modern Warfare. This multiplayer beta was built on July 25th of 2007, which is roughly 4 months after the pre-alpha and 4 months before the full release of the game. Again, totally shocked as to how fast Infinity Ward was able to clean up this game, considering the breadth of missions that they had planned. Here we can see all of the maps that were going to be in the full retail release of Modern Warfare, and funny enough, the map Wetwork is in this, which as we now know is from the Cut campaign mission. This build shows all of the multiplayer maps, but the only ones that were present in this beta were Crash, Overgrown, and Vacant. And as you can tell, the UI was in a much more finished state. Loading into Crash, this custom game is full of bots that just kind of stand around and shoot straight. They're not really that much of a threat if I'm being honest, but since it's me, I did end up getting shot at a couple times by them. But I'm just gonna say it was because I wanted to see if they could actually damage me. Yeah. I also did end up getting enough kills to go nuclear in this game. I think it's safe to say I think I was the first person in the world to go nuclear in the multiplayer beta of Modern Warfare in 2025. So I'll send Infinity Ward my address so they can send me my trophy as soon as possible. And finally, we have Modern Warfare Remastered. I was a bit hesitant to include this version of Modern Warfare in this video, but I decided it was important to give a look at a quote-unquote modern version of the incredible game from 2007. This game was not made by Infinity Ward, but by Raven and was released alongside Call of Duty Infinite Warfare in 2016. The reason why I was hesitant to include this here is that it's only a remaster of the original in terms of the campaign and core gameplay. It includes all of the multiplayer maps the original launched with, but with a caveat. In order to play Creek, Chinatown, Kill House, and Broadcast, you have to buy the Variety map pack. In my eyes, if you buy the game and never buy any of the map packs, it's not really a remaster, since it doesn't include all of the maps released in MW 2007. Additionally, it does have a microtransaction shop, similar to that in Black Ops 3's Black Market. I will give credit to Raven for the campaign portion though. Despite the shortcomings and greediness of the multiplayer, this campaign is a great recreation of the original, with updated graphics and such a good way to experience the game through a modern lens.
Stairs clear.
And with that, I hope you now have a good glimpse into what Modern Warfare was actually supposed to include when it came out in 2007. Considering what the pre-alpha looked like 8 months before launch, it was shocking to see how Infinity Ward was able to put together such a great game within such a short deadline. It's interesting to imagine what the game would have looked like with just 3 or more months of development time, but just like with Black Ops 2's short development cycle, which I made a video on too, so go check that out, the team at Infinity Ward locked in and created a masterpiece that set the stage for Call of Duty games for the next 2 decades. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a ton of fun going through these prototypes, and I'd love reading what you guys have to say in the comments down below, so let me know your thoughts. And if you didn't mind subscribing, it would really help me out. My channel is super small, and the support I receive from you guys helps me make even more content like this. Also, if you have any games that you'd like to see me cover next, feel free to drop that in the comments below too. Thank you.